William has settled down to make the best of things as they are. There are the fetch gates, straight through the middle of the fetch gates. And she's taking them at a grand pace. Bending off ground there, he starts to rise. Yes, she's happy behind them. She's in control of them. Good steady pace, that's a nice walking pace. She's got her head up, she can control those sheep. Keen, absolutely alert, ears up, listening but not taking her eyes off the sheep. Oh, that's 19 out of 20 for the fetch. That's only 1 point lost on the fetch. Since Bess got hold of her sheep, she's almost perfect. She's handling them lovely. Starts to drive away. Still keeping that good pace. There's the drive away gates. We've got to push the sheep right between them. Bess is going to do that. Watch it! Steady, lass. Thought she was going to slip a sheep over the end there, but she's put them through nicely. She swings right around and we start the cross drive. I like that. I like her. She's on her feet all the time, and a collie that's on its feet can move much quicker than one that has to go down. Taking them on the cross drive. William must be happy with her work. She's doing a good job, and he's controlling quietly. That's the single gate at the end of the cross drive. I want to swing the sheep right round it. Good go, lass. Safely round the gate. Sheep are spreading a little on her as they sort of come rising up into the shedding ring. The last leg of the drive, the return drive. But she jumps them into action, she comes in on them, and she's not letting them get away with anything. She's padding quietly behind them. She's certainly the boss of these sheep. Coming into the shedding ring.
Lay down. Left, left. Lay down. Lay down. Left, left. Lay down. Yes, one off there.
That's 34 out of 40 for driving. She's dropped 6 points, but she's done a good job there. She's stalking in on these sheep. There's a red collared sheep. We want to cut one of those off. There are 2 in the packet of 7.
Lay down.
No panic, William knows his stock. He's just taking his time.
Right.
Bess still on her feet, ready to come in.
Right.
A bunny looking animal. She's bottle-faced.
Lay down.
Oh, there's one there on the right, and he's shaping for a good shed.
That's.
Oh, that was a good shed. Oh, I'm surprised at that. I think the judges have been a bit hard there. That's 2 points lost on that shed for some reason. 8 out of 10 scored.
Yes, come on. Yes, right. Lay down. Come on. That's it. Come on. Lay down. That's it.
Yes. Moves up on the, puts the packet together again and moves them across to the
left. Lay down.
pen.
Left. Lay down. That's it. Right. Lay down. Lay down. Right.
Oh, she's bossed them. She's got them in. There can't be anything wrong with the pen there. And William must be quite satisfied with that run. They've appreciated it very much. That's 10 out of 10 for the pen and gives him a total of 97 out of 110. And Bess is a good collie. I enjoyed that trial. Once she got going, she did all that was asked of her. She had that understanding with William. She was very obedient, and she's certainly enthusiastic. She's alert. She's on her feet all the time. She's ready to react.
I'm always charmed by the magic of water, which attracts dogs at least as much as men. And I love messing about in boats. And when you add this stunning scenery here at Derwent Water, there's no exotic foreign land that can hold a candle to it for me. And now to meet Ireland's second competitor. He's John Casey and was born and reared in County Cork, but since the age of 20 he spent most of his life in England and Scotland. Recently, though, he brought his wife and young son back home to the family farm on the dramatic southwest coast near Castleton Beer.
The farm is 20 acres of land. It's very rough, hilly land. And we keep 250 black-faced ewes on the mountain. And we have also 10 suckling cows. The amount of arable land in the area is not great. It's not really a farming area. We're out on a peninsula here. The scenery is very beautiful, but most people get their living from fishing or some substitute to farming. There's quite a lot of tourism in the area as well. Get a lot of continentals and Americans and English people and so forth come on holiday.
John's a bit of a wanderer himself.
And I've travelled all over the British Isles and been to the continent and to Spain, and looking forward to getting to America eventually. Well, I like country and western music and dancing and going to the pub. And yeah, I like television, particularly documentaries and so on and so forth.
But what he enjoys most of all is trialling. Though he doesn't always train his own dogs, this can cause problems.
It takes a long time for a dog to change hands, especially in top-class competition. You can take it home and it will work immediately, but to get the really fine points on it, you would have to have it about a year, I would say.
John owns several dogs, including 5-year-old Jaff, a good trialer who will be running in the brace with Ben later in the series. There's another dog too, for whom he has high hopes.
The young dog is 3 years old, and he's already won a novice and been placed in intermediate trials. And I think in about another year he should be successful in open trials. But I think the best dog I've owned so far would be Ben, the dog I'm running in the series now. I bought him in Wales 2 years ago, and I had him in the national team last year. And he's won quite a few open trials and has been placed a lot of times. He's been a very successful dog for me. Well, Ben is a very strong dog, and he's very powerful and very stylish as well. And I like this type of dog. He can push 100 sheep or 200 sheep the same as he would push 5 sheep. I'm very attached to him. I get very attached to all my dogs. I think to have a good working relationship, you have to have a certain bond between the man and the dog.
And it's nice to hear a man who thinks such a lot about his dogs. And a dog always gives of his very best when he's appreciated.
That'll do, Ben. Stand there.
Walks out
Ben, that'll do,
quietly.
Ben. That'll do.
John and Ben.
That'll do, Ben.
There are the sheep. They've been walked quietly out, slowly and quietly out by the field staff. And it's so important that the sheep are walked quietly. Ben's seen his sheep, but those sheep have got to be walked to that post quietly. They've got to be kept quietly, and we very often forget how important the role of the shepherds is at the top of the field. Away he goes to the left. Sloping up the hillside. Used to hilly ground is this dog. Comes round on his sheep. John blows him down. It's perfect behind his sheep, and that is a perfect outrun. 20 out of 20 for the outrun. 9 for the lift. 9 out of 10 for the lift. He just jerked him away a bit too quickly. But a very practical dog, and he's getting on with it, and he's fetching him down that hillside at a good pace. A very positive contact with his sheep, safely through the fetch gates. Pushes them over the footings of the stone wall and starts to rise up at the end of the fetch, and see how he's going. He's travelling almost like a train, speeding along and pushing his sheep before him. It's the typical pattern of the strong working, good hill dog, worth his weight in gold at home. Got a good speed on those sheep, got a good pace on them. Comes to the end of the fetch and starts to drive away. The doggy thinks he's on holiday on this lovely ground after his usual terrain. That's 18 out of 20 for fetching. He's dropped only 2 on the fetch. Steady, boy. Steady. No, he's got to be careful with that sheep. See, he's pushing on all the time. This is typical of a dog that's working high ground and working a lot of sheep all the time, but he's judging him on his performance today, don't forget. He's safely through the drive away gates. Has to swing right round now and turn them to start the cross drive. And he's coming round lovely. Oh, he's come round a bit too sharp. He's got to be careful he doesn't turn them back through those gates. Listen to John in the background there, commanding, shouting at him, lie down, Ben, keeping him under control. Knows his dog, handling him well.
Ben, lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down!
John keeps instructing him to take things easy. Coming to the end of the cross drive. Just padding along. Round the single gate. Starts to return up into the shedding ring. God, I'm going a bit fast now.
Lie down!
That lie down keeps coming from Johnny, holding him back all the time.
Then lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down!
Completes his driving stint. Comes into the shedding ring.
Lie down! Lie down! Bin.
That's 34 out of 40 for driving. Got the shedding to do on the pen. 20 points at stake yet.
Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down!
Ben laid down. Ready for action.
Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down! Lie down!
We asked an awful lot of it at times of a collie dog. You expect him to be forcing his sheep round the course and then flattening him down there and ready to wait. Got to have a good temperament, as John said earlier on.
Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
Oh, there's a red sheep on the right.
Lie down. Lie down.
There's one on the right now. It's gone. I think he'd take that. Yes, now. Good boy.
Bin.
And a good shed. And a good shed. And 10 out of 10 points for it. Ben puts them back together again. Puts the odd sheep back to the other 6.
Dad!
John quietly walks to the pen.
Lie down. Lie down.
No panic in the work. Just
Lie
a
down.
practical,
Lie down.
solid job of getting
Lie
on
down.
with it.
Lie down. 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 Lie down.
Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
Well, there isn't a lot of movement, but Ben's got those sheep under control. He's not going to let them
Lie down.
escape.
Lie down. Lie down.
Man takes front side of the pen, the dog the other
Lie
side.
down. Lie down.
God, just a thought of rebellion, but soon curbed by the dog. The dog's the boss of the sheep, and he puts them into that pen quite safely. And it's appreciated. It's a run that's been well appreciated by the spectators. It's 10 out of 10 for the pen. It's a good decisive pen, and it gives him 101 points out of 110. One must say that it was a very practical run. But John knows his Ben, and knowing him, he handled him well. One could say it was tough, it was perhaps a bit rugged, but it was certainly in keeping with the sort of rough terrain that these shepherds back home.
John, that was a cracking run. I really enjoyed watching that. She really got them going, and she took hold of them, didn't she? Did you get any problems?
Well, just a slight bit. The dog was just pushing a small bit too hard, but I managed to overcome it as we were going along.
It's an interesting point, that overcoming this particular dog, because I noticed that you give the same command whether you wanted to lie down literally or just to slow up. How does the dog know which one you mean?
Well, I would use a different tone of voice when I say lie down in a gentle voice. It means to slow up. And then I say lie down in a harder tone of voice, and that means to actually lie down.
It sounds a little bit Irish to me, that is. Why don't you tell it the complete one?
Well, it tends to confuse a dog if you have too many commands, because they don't understand what you actually say. It's the tone of your voice that they understand by the sounds. So it's actually a louder tone of voice, which means to actually lie down.
Well, it certainly worked very well. You had an absolutely cracking run. It'll be very difficult to beat. We're most interested to see what happens now.
Well, I hope it won't anyway.
I suppose most people would recognise a shepherd's crook when they see one, but have you ever considered the hours that it takes and the skill it takes to fashion a rough old lump of ram's horn into a real work of art? Well, the art of stick dressing is centuries old, and shepherds all down the ages have whiled away long lamp-lit evenings whittling at sticks and horns to fashion them into either the tools of their trade or sheer works of art. So I would like you to meet today a master craftsman at the art of stick making and have a look at some of the things he makes. Norman Tulip's been making shepherd's crooks for over 30 years. As a 14-year-old lad, he used to admire the displays at local shows, and he became fascinated with the craft. When setting out to make a crook, Norman's particular in the type of horn he uses. It must have come from a mature ram, usually between 7 and 10 years old. The Wiltshire is the best, he claims, but he'll also use horns from the Jacob, the Dorset, the Swaledale and the Scottish Blackface. Once the horn's been selected, Norman boils it for about 3 hours to soften it up, and then he clamps it between the jaws of a vice in his bench. Then with a trusty old crowbar and a lot of elbow grease, he bends and stretches out the curls till it's virtually straight, finishing the job off by squeezing it under pressure between the metal plates. Then Norman confirms his original ideas on what animal or bird he plans to carve. In this case, he's chosen a teal drake. With an ordinary stick of chalk, he sketches in the area of the horn he can use and the outline of the duck. This is then burnt into the horn using an ordinary electric soldering iron, about his most important tool. He used to do this part of the job by heating nails over a blow lamp, until one day a friend of his who worked in a shipyard was watching him at work and suggested that he'd do much better with a small soldering iron. Norman confesses that it's some of the best advice he's ever had. Like most craftsmen, his tools are simple and practical. A coping saw, a good strong pocket knife, 2 or 3 rasps and a number of files, various grades of emery cloth and a collection of woodcarver's chisels, always kept razor sharp. And after about 250 hours skilled craftsmanship, the teal drake's completed. For a man as gifted as Norman Tulip, and who spent so many years perfecting his craft, it's not surprising to discover that his passion for the art is still as strong as ever.
Oh yes, it's a challenge to pick up an old ram's horn and finish up with something that gives you satisfaction. My word, it's a challenge, there's no doubt about that. It's also something that is going to be lovely to look at for several hundred years, long after I'm gone.
Of the many designs and shapes that Norman has created, one of the most exacting to carve and calling for great accuracy in copying is the trout. Using a horn from a Scottish blackface ram, Norman now takes around 100 hours to create the leaping fish. Much of the time is spent in filing to shape the almost translucent tail and the fine fins and colouring in with red ink the spots on the belly, for this is always used as a matchstick. Then there's the shaping and the inserting of the black eye, carved from buffalo horn, and the creating the all-important curve to the mouth, giving the trout that typically supercilious expression. But with the trout and all his works of art, Norman has one important secret.
Whatever I'm going to carve, I have it in a deep freeze. I don't carve a bird's head or a teal duck or anything like that unless I have the bird to copy. There's a very fine margin between the thing looking lovely and the thing looking ugly. There's a fine margin.
Marvellous, weren't they? And next week we'll see some more of the works of art that Norman Tulip's made. It took him over 20,000 hours to make them, and when I feasted my eyes on them, they took my breath away. Meanwhile, back to the trials. It's time to meet Ireland's last competitor. He's John Brennan. He's not a full-time farmer, but a teacher who lives near Templemore in County Tipperary on more than 200 acres of pasture land near a famous Irish landmark.
We live in the shadow of the Devil's Bit mountain, and legend says that the devil is supposed to have taken a bite out of the mountain, and the shape indeed does look like that. I teach in the next parish school, and I teach 3rd and 4th class, the 8 to 10-year-olds. And in junior school we teach all subjects. I like the outdoors in the evening time, and I became involved a good bit in farming during the holidays and after school hours.
John's father works the family farm full-time and has 400 crossbred ewes as well as a herd of beef cattle. John himself is a bachelor and his father's a widower, but every summer they can look forward to a 6-week invasion. Both of John's sisters are married and live in Germany, but they wouldn't miss coming home to Ireland for their holidays.
They bring their children here with them, obviously, and for the summertime the house changes from being pretty quiet into being full of activity that goes along with children and families.
John used to play a lot of hurling and football, but since he started trialling 9 years ago, he hasn't much time for other hobbies. Though he trained his first dog simply to work stock on the farm, it proved so apt that he entered for a trial and won. John says he's never been as good since, though in fact he did qualify later for the Irish national team 4 years in succession, and in 1986 he won the national itself. But he gets the greatest pleasure of all out of training his dogs.
I think myself, I'm good at training young ones, and it's perhaps my strongest ability as far as trials is concerned. I tend to get a bit too nervous working them at perhaps at stake.
John owns 4 trained dogs and several young ones as yet untrained. including a bright 6-month-old bitch who's the daughter of the bitch he's running today. The bitch he's competing with is registered as Meg, but John prefers to call her Dell.
I bought her in Wales at about 8 months old, and they told me Dell is the Welsh for pretty. She's good at home to work with and easy to work, and she never seems to get into trouble. Dell has a good temperament, and she gives of her best, I think, when you want it. And I find with her that on the bigger day, when I'm 2/10, and I still get 10th at the big trials, that she seems to respond by being that little bit better and by answering a little bit, giving something extra on that day when especially needed. And some of my other dogs don't always respond in as good a fashion.
So it's the part-time farmer up against the professionals. To win, John, Brennan and Dell have got to break the 100 mark and better the score of 101, set up in the second trial by John Casey and Ben.
And having won the 1986 Irish National, Phil, they're quite capable of doing it. They're two minds that really think as one.
Watch her. Steady, steady. Watch her. Steady, stand. Over.
Away she goes. She's going too wide. What the... Come in, lass. Losing points there. And she's too tight again. Oh, and John's realised that. John blows her out. Whistle her to go out. You see the sheep now? Coming right round the sheep. Blows her down, stops her behind the sheep. End of the outrun. 17 out of 20 for the outrun. She dropped 3 for the line and the commands that she had to be given, but she's brought them away from the post quite good. 10 out of 10 for the lift. Good lift. She's got them going down this hill very nicely. And in fact, all these Irish dogs they've shown a certain purpose on the fetch. They've been very positive and very definite. Fetch gates. Settled nicely now behind those sheep. Pushing up the hill towards John. Steady, lass, just take it a bit easier. So just push on a bit hard.
Steady, steady. Steady, steady, steady. Steady. Stand, 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 steady. Stand, steady. Steady.
Starts to drive away. That's 18 out of 20 scored for the fetch. Only dropped 2 points on the fetch. But she's just still a bit too strong. She's still pushing these sheep away.
Stand.
Steady, lass.
Stand.
Yes. Hold her back a bit, yeah.
Steady.
Got through the
Steady.
drive away gate. Swings around for the turn on for the cross drive, and it's a good turn, is that? Just a bit too high now on the line.
Steady. 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 Steady.
Pushing her back onto the correct line of the cross drive.
Steady. 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 Stand. Steady.
John's just
Steady.
keeping her under control, gearing her back.
Steady.
Very wide on
Steady.
that turn.
Steady.
And She does need a bit of push now. She's got to push them up this hill into the shedding ring that they are coming at a good pace. They're spreading on her. Difficult job controlling spreading sheep. She's got to bunch them. She's padding along behind them. She has them under control. And they're running a bit close to the copse there. Well, they're offline if that's the case. Offline.
Steady now. Steady. 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 Stand. Steady. Stand.
Into driving into the shedding ring.
Steady. Across. 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 Across.
That's 34 out of 40 for driving. Dropped 6 points.
Stand. Stand. Steady. Steady. Stand.
She's waiting for the command.
Steady. 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 Come on. Come on there. Come on. Stand now. Stand. Stand now. Come on there. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Stand there. Stand now. Stand. Just stand. Stand. Stand now. Stand. 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 Over.
In
Stand.
the right place there.
Stand. Over.
Oh, steady us.
Stand. Over.
Not any jerky movements in the shedding ring. It frightens the sheep.
Stand. Stand, you.
There's one there.
Stand.
No red collar.
Stand. Stand over. Stand. Stand up. Stand up. Stand.
She's like a coil spring ready to come through when she's asked.
Stand over. Stand. Stand up. Stand.
There we go. There's one, isn't there? Yes. Come.
Steady, steady.
Yes. Oh, lost the point. 9 out of 10 for shedding.
Stand.
Puts Del. John puts Del right behind the 7 sheep there. Kept them very quiet in this ring. And it pays dividends when you come up to the pen.
Stand there. Stand. Over. Stand. Get out. Stand. Over. Stand. Stand. Steady. Steady. Over. Get out. Stand. Over. Stand. Over. Stand. Over. Over. Stand. Over. Over. Stand. Stand across. Stand. Stand now. Stand. Stand then. Steady. Stand. Steady. Steady. Stand. Stand. Stand there. Stand.
Oh, she's the boss.
Stand.
They don't challenge this side. She's in charge on this side, and John takes the other side. And by the applause, the trial has been appreciated. Well done. 10 out of 10 for the pen, and that will give a 98 out of 110. It was a jolly sound trial. It wasn't quite as precise as it should have been. On occasion, Del was a little too keen at times, and in competition, it's these finer points, the control, the straight lines, the tight turns that win trials.
Well, John, that was a cracking run. You just failed by 3 points to come out the winner. Very bad luck there. A marvellous run, really, for a non-professional against 2 professionals.
Yeah,
do you enjoy it as much as your dog obviously does?
yeah, I enjoy it quite a bit, but it gets tense at the big trials, and the dog seems to be happy, and well, I suppose the dog is made for running after treatment.
Well, when you got into the shedding ring, after bundling them around pretty quick, do you find that makes them bundle together tighter, or do you find it more difficult?
Not in general, no. Del, while she keeps them moving lively, she doesn't seem to frighten sheep. She doesn't put her head... She puts it forward sort of far enough to make them move on, but she doesn't put it forward far enough to make them fight her. And they're not really afraid of her normally, like, you know.
Well, it was great fun, and we enjoyed it very much, and I do congratulate you on coming so near to the professionals.
Thank you very much.
So, confirmation of the final result. John Casey and Ben from County Cork win by 3 points from the Irish teacher John Brennan, with William McGoldrick and Bess from County Tyrone a point away in 3rd place. So with the completion of the Irish heat, we now have the lineup for the two singles semi-finals. Next week, Charles Cutler with Sheena of England will be matched against Jim Grierson of Scotland with Mark in the first semi-final. And in 2 weeks' time, the second semi-final will be between John Lightfoot with Black from Wales and today's winner, John Casey with Ben from Ireland. And we shall also be starting the brace competition next week when each handler runs 2 dogs at the same time. So make a date to join us again next week. Welcome back to the shores of Derwent Water on a superb autumn day with just an autumnal nip in the air. And the sun might blunt it or it might turn to rain. You never know up here in the Lake District. But we're going to have a very busy day today because we've got the first single semi-finals and the first round of the brace. And during the earlier rounds, we've been able to see just how close is the bond between man and dog in the singles. Well, in running the brace, when one man runs 2 dogs, and each dog may be competitive and jealous of the other and want to show that he's the best dog, then that bond has to be even closer. It becomes a sort of magic mix of discipline and trust and affection. Well, now, first of all, we're going to see the first singles of the semi-finals between England and Scotland. Eric, how do you predict that'll go?
It's difficult. They're both Weiss collies. They're both wild bred, and they've had plenty of experience. There's Charlie Cutler with Sheena, who's running for England. Now, Sheena's won quite a lot of open competitions up in the North Yorkshire area, but Jimmy Grierson perhaps has the more experience as a handler. And his mark dog, it's 7.5. It's proved itself as a registration on merit collie, as we say, and he may just have the edge. He had more points in the heat than Sheena got, so may just have the edge. You might just say.
Well, despite the sunshine, it is quite a thin wind coming off the lake, but it won't bother either competitors or spectators. A fair few of them have turned up today to see what I'm certain is going to be a smashing day's trialling. And there's Jim Cropper on the right, beaten into second place in the English heat. He's in next week's brace contest, so he's probably here to size up the opposition. So, 7 Swaledale ewes are walked out from the holding pen by the field staff for the first of our singles semi-finals. Jim Grierson of Scotland runs first, one of the 3 handlers in the heats to score more than 100 points.
Mark is always keen on his shepherding. He's anxious to get on with it. Jimmy stands him a fair way off. Some judges frown upon that, but it indicates to the dog the distance he's got to go and gather his sheep. Going well, going out to the right. Strong dog, needs a lot of sympathetic handling. Going up the hillside without any trouble at all. Round the back of his sheep. Jimmy blows him down. That's 20 out of 20. That's a jolly good outrun, and it's actually one more than he got when he won the Scottish heat. He's come away down a 10 out of 10 for the lift. Now this is a perfect start. And he's got a good pace there. He's got a good line on the fetch. The fetch gates, right through the middle of the fetch gates. Got to push it a bit to get over the foundations there, the old foundations for that old wall. Does his job quite well. Mark moves up on them. Oh, he's just bending there to straighten his sheep. Just keep them straight on line. Just draw a point there. On the straight line, straight as we can get it for competition work. Just wants to ease off a bit now. He's just getting a bit too much pressure. Steady boy. That's 16 out of 20 for his fetch. He's only dropped 4 points on his fetch. That's only 4 points dropped so far in the trial. And he started to drive away on a good line. Good pace. Good working dog, this. He'll lift his head to see those sheep are on the right line. He knows almost as much about it as Jim does. That's the drive-away gates, pushing them right through the drive-away gates. Gotta come round now and turn them. Comes round there. Jim issuing his commands to him. Guiding him on the cross drive. Oh, plodding, there's Mark just plodding along nicely behind them, and he's thoroughly enjoying his work. Sheep going away from him. That's the single gate at the end of the cross drive. Turns around that, that's correct. Good turn. Comes up the rise, the return drive into the shedding ring. Still plodding nicely along. Enjoying it. Good pace. Sheep just go nicely into the ring, and Jim moves across to meet them. There's Charles Cutler, and he'll know that Jim's setting him a pretty high standard. Well, that's 36 out of 40 for his driving. He's only dropped 4 on the driving, and that's a better score than he got during his heat. Just got to take everything cool and steady, but this chap's had plenty of experience at it. Steady on, Jim. He's getting a little agitated.
I did.
Oh, yes. Left the sheep. The sheep are leaving the ring there. Now, he got the maximum points in his heat, but he's not going to get maximum points now. He's let those sheep out of the ring. Mark seems relaxed enough. He's ready. He's waiting for the command to come. And there's one of the red-coloured sheep that Jim has to cut off. 2 red-coloured sheep, take one off. And there are 2 sheep drifting away. No, I don't. No, has it got a red colour? I don't think it has. No, Jimmy says not. Just waves his crook, turns the sheep back. He's settled down a lot more now.
I do.
Steady. He just wants to move the dog around a bit, perhaps. And Mark's ready. He's relaxed as well. He's ready to come in on command. Just waiting for the opportunity. Waiting for Jimmy to call him in. Just got to work a red-coloured sheep to the end and cut it off.
I do.
Still waiting. Just got to, that's right, just move him round a bit.
Lie down.
Just got to keep the sheep between the dog and the man. And there's a red-coloured sheep there. Yes, oh, that's a good... Yes, it's turned out to be a good shed. He was a bit short in coming, but he's wearing it very well. He's holding it back, and that's what it's all about. It's 9 points out of 10, and it was a good shed when it came. He lost that point early on for letting them slip him. Steady Mark now. Oh, he's pushing on too hard now.
Lie down. Wait.
Chwee. Chwee. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. We.
Oh, he's come round very fast. He's held those sheep at this side and they're streaming into the pen now. He's got them. And that must be a good pen. That's 10 out of 10 for the pen. Gives him a total of 101 out of 110 points. And it was a good, jolly good sound trial. I mean, Mark was ever watchful, he was obedient, he was certainly patient, and he was jolly good in the outfield. Even when Jim got a little agitated in the ring, the dog kept his cool. And what I particularly liked, he was enjoying his shepherding.
Well, that 101 by Jim Grierson was exactly the same score that he and Mark reached when they won the Scottish Heat 3 weeks ago. It's certainly going to put the pressure on England's Charles Cutler and Sheena. In winning their heat, they scored 95.
Yes, and in doing so, Phil, they were quite cool and they were quite composed. And the question, quite simply, is can they repeat that good partnership today? Yes, Charles' wife, Win. Sheena, good willing bitch. She's placid, she's adaptable. Once she jumps into action, she leaps away there. Lovely movement, this bitch. She's lithe, she's got good muscle, she knows her way around, she won the English heat, she's been around this course before, and she's got some purpose in that outrun. She swings round at the top of the field, comes round behind the sheep. Charles drops her in the right place there. 19 out. Now she's just got to come up onto these sheep quietly and steadily and just to settle them down and be sure that she's the boss. 9 out of 10 for the lift. Dropped a point on the lift. And there she's got the right idea there. She just wants to move quietly up on those sheep, boss them right at the beginning, and then they'll do as she wants them to do if she beats them at the top of the field there. Just straighten them up a bit, lass. Just keep them together, bunched together a bit more. She's just got to move a little, put a bit more pressure on than that. She doesn't want to let them graze. Come on, lass, move up on them a bit more. Move away from her. See, she's got the power to move those sheep. She's a careful bitch. She knows what she's doing. You can read the minds of the sheep. Pushes them safely through the fetch gate. I just watched that sheep at the back there. She's letting them spread a bit. She's got to go back for that sheep now. Good lass. Just moving behind the sheep, pushing them up the hill towards Charles. A bit more positive now. He's got the mastery of them now. They're going away from her.
Lie down. Walk on. Lie down. Walk on. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
Turns round the back of Charles and
Lie down.
starts to drive away. That's 16 out of 20 for the fetch. We're driving away on a good line, and a good pace there. Sheep trotting away from her, but on the right line. Got her eyes on those sheep, listening to her instructions. Right through the centre of the drive away gates. Gotta come round now, lass, and turn them on the cross drive. There she goes. Too good a turn, if anything, so you just turn them slightly inwards and off the cross drive line. Just a little. It's a competition, don't forget. We want to keep those lines straight. Charles quietly issues his commands to her. She's listening and she's taking them. She's just got a good controllable pace. Oh, she's moving fast on them there. Just steady, lass. Be careful. Oh, the sheep's threatening to go on the inside, but she just came round quick enough to turn them. Ever watchful, enjoying it, keeping her eyes on the sheep. Could have been disastrous that if she'd just lost her concentration there, she would have lost all those sheep around the wrong side of the hurdle. She's happy behind them. Fetching them off into the shedding ring. Quietly at the end of the drive into the shedding ring, Charles moves across to meet them.
Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
That's 36 out of 40 for driving, and that shows jolly good driving. He's only dropped 4 points there. Go down, lass. Sheena's just waiting for the command and anticipating the moves of the sheep. She shot away there to block any break that they may have. She's coming around now, but she came around on command there. Good dog like this can anticipate. They almost think for the sheep itself.
Lie down. Lie down. Walk on.
Now that's an interesting situation. That sheep's just going across to test her, but she's the boss. You see, she turns it back. Just now, she put Charles in an awkward position there. He just got to make a dash for it to keep them in, keep the sheep in the ring. Oh, good shed, good shed. Very positive. She came through then when she was after, and there can't be much wrong with that. And Win looks relieved at the end of that. 10 out of 10 for the shed. Moves across to the pen.
Lie down. Come on, Shayna.
Come on, lass.
Come on. Come on. Lie down. Lie down. Lie.
Brings them
Lie down.
up to the pen.
Wait.
She's in control. Just
Lie
watch
down.
this side, lass.
Lie down. Lie down.
Man one side, the dog the other side. Got them in a good position and they're in. She's so keen she goes round the back to turn them out again for him. That's 10 out of 10 for the pen. And it gives him a straight 100 points, and it's just 1 point behind Jim and Mark. And what a pity it is, isn't it, really? Let's be honest about it. Such a sound trial to be beaten. Scored 5 points more than she scored when she won the English heat. And she enjoyed her work. A collie's happiest when it's working sheep.
Well, those were two absolutely cracking runs. If we get as good in the final, it'll be marvellous. Jim, you just won. You won by 1 single point. It was terribly close, and awfully bad luck to you, Charles, because it really was pipped by a whisker. What was your problems out at the beginning? That was where the problems came, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know. We were just trying to settle the sheep to try to get them to come down in a steady straight line. It maybe took a little bit longer, but if we'd rushed the job, they might have run off course or something. We just tried to take the job quietly and keep them on course, really.
Well, it was a jolly interesting thing to watch, and you did indeed improve very much indeed on your run in the last round. You're the first one through to the finals. Did you get any problems? Have it taught you anything for the next round when you go to the finals?
Oh, well, just a wee bit at the far end there again, and a wee bit in the ring here again. It's a wee bit wilder, the sheep as they were the last day, I think.
So what can you do to prepare yourself for that?
Oh, well, get my sprinting shoes out, I think.
Well, you come in your sprinting shoes for the final. We wish you very good luck and 2 lovely runs. Thank you.
Thank you.
All the way best in the final.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Last week we showed you Norman Tulip at work making some absolutely marvellous shepherd's crooks. And before we went, he produced a rough old hunk of ram's horn and said, now what would you like me to make you from this? And naturally enough we said, well, we'd like something to do with the programme. And sure enough, here it is, a shepherd's crook with one man and his dog on it. And so before we go to the next round, feast your eyes on some of the other masterpieces that Norman makes, because they really are out of this world. Well, those really were absolutely superb, weren't they? And now it's time to see the brace trials. One man and two dogs from Wales, and two dogs and one man from Ireland, if that isn't too Irish, and I hope you enjoy it. Today's match is between Wales and Ireland, with Ireland being represented by John Casey from County Cork, who won their singles television championship last week. He's pairing his singles dog, the 5-year-old Ben, with another 5-year-old Jaff. Both dogs have been winners in singles trials, and John's hopeful that they'll be equally successful in brace competition. They're great pals, he says, and never fight with each other and have that all-important good working relationship. Wales is represented by their veteran campaigner, Gwilliam Jones from Breckford near Carmarthen. He's won the International Brace Championship 5 times and is regarded by many as one of the finest handlers of two dogs in the world. In today's brace competition, he's running Roy and Floss, litter brother and sister, 5.5 years old. Gwilliam has only recently started to run them together in trials, but he hopes that within a couple of years, when they've had more experience working together, they'll be a really outstanding trialling pair. A reminder that for the brace, 8 sheep are used, still Swale Dales, so it's John Casey of Ireland to run the first brace trial.
And John has plenty of experience in brace contests. Represented Ireland in the 1986 International. Wasn't with these two dogs, but Ben and Jaff, they know each other's strengths, they know each other's faults.
Stand, Ben. Stand.
They've got to work together as a team today. There's Ben nearest to us. Jaff on the far side. Same course as for the singles, just with the extra pen at the end. Both dogs are ready, they're on their way. And Jaff out on the left. Jaff going with purpose. Ben here on the right. Boy, Ben's out now after there. See how he bent out there? He saw his sheep and realised he was coming too tight on them. Jaff arrives at the top. Just a bit tight on those sheep. There's 17 points for Ben and 18 points for Jaff. Just a bit erratic at the top of the field there. Well, they both dropped 2 on the lift, 8 out of 10 each on the lift, and they haven't settled together. Take it easy, just got to settle them down now. John's got to be careful. Just get that anxiety out of your voice. John, it's not as... Conveys it to the dogs. It's not as urgent as all that. Just take it easy. Oh, and Jeff swung right round in front of the hurdle. She's headed those sheep. Now, Ben's got to show himself a strong collie to be virtually pushing those sheep against the dog. Succeeded. Good for him. Good for him. Oh, now he's done the same. He's come round too far to the front. Got to move back as he has done there. But they're not together at all. These two dogs are just not together. They're pushing far too hard there, pushing up the hill. They've got too much pressure on altogether. John's just got to try and ease them back and let the sheep settle and forget what's gone and start all over again, as it were, and just drive away. Just calm the sheep down now. There's Jeff. That's 16 out of 20 for the fetch. Dropped 4 points on the fetch, and I think the judges have been a little lenient there.
Lie down, Ben. Lie down, Ben.
Driving away.
Lie down, Ben. Stop.
He ain't got that anxiety in his voice as John. He's just going to get these two dogs upset again if he's not careful.
Come by you. Come by you. Ben, lie down.
Steady.
Come by you.
We're getting the panic creeping in again.
Lie down.
Yes, and the anxiety transmits, and the dogs are not just settled at all. They're just not working together. They don't understand each other from this showing.
Lie down, Jeff. Jeff, lie down. Ben, lie down.
I'm going away now.
Lie down,
Going
Ben.
towards the
Lie down, Ben.
drive away gates.
Ben, lie down.
Yes, got them
Ben, lie down.
headed for the drive away gates. And
Come by, Jeff.
just
Come by,
steady.
Come by, Jeff. Ben, lie down.
We're just moving in to turn them away.
Jeff, lie down. Come by, Jeff. Come by, Jeff.
They break away from the gates and everything's going wrong.
Ben, lie down. Lie down, Ben. Ben, lie down. Ben.
There's the gates we've got to get through, and they've missed it. Dogs have driven those sheep wide of the gates.
Jeff.
Lost a lot of points here.
Ben, lie down.
Still not happy.
Ben.
Rushing backwards and forwards. Sheep running all over the place as well.
Ben, lie down. Ben. Ben, lie down. Ben. Jeff.
They're still pressing on, see? Ah, they're pressing on.
Lie down, Ben.
Slide down. Got them safely around the cross drive hurdle.
Come by, Jeff.
Coming up into the shedding ring. But see how fast they're gone. They're still not in partnership at all. In fact, they're really chasing the sheep.
Lie down. Ben, lie down. Lie down.
The end of the drive, and
Lie down.
I'm afraid it's been rather a disastrous drive.
Lie down, Ben. Yeah. Lie down. Lie down. Come boy, Jeff. Come boy. Ben, lie down. Lie down, Ben.
That's 18
Lie down,
points
Ben.
out of 40. They've dropped 22
Lie
points
down.
on the driving, and it certainly wasn't good.
Lie down, Ben. Lie down, Ben. Lie down, Ben.
Jeff's been
Lie down, Ben.
chosen
Lie
to
down.
do the
Lie down.
shedding.
Lie down. Lie down, Jeff.
We've got 8 sheep in the ring there. Of course, we need them splitting right down the middle. Got to be divided into 2 packets of 4.
Lie down, Jeff. Lie down, Jeff. Lie down. Lie down.
Calm
Lie down,
everything
Jeff.
down and
Lie down, Jeff.
just settle to there we are. Comes through.
Lie down. Lie down, Ben.
But doesn't come through properly, and be
Lie down, lie down,
careful. We're
Jeff, come on.
going to put them together
lie
again
down.
if we're not
Lie down, Jeff.
steady.
Lie down, Ben.
Steady. Yes, and Ben. All these sheep are going to come together again. They have come together. We've got 8 sheep again. We've got to start all over again now.
Lie down. Jeff. Lie down, Ben. Come boy, Jeff. Come boy, Jeff. Ben, lie down.
One Ben's coming
Lie
in
down,
to
Ben.
help Jeff,
Come
and
boy, Jeff.
shouldn't do that. It's a one dog job is shedding.
Lie down. Lie down, Jeff.
Ben's
Ben, lie
moving
down.
yet. He's got it. Now he's in the right place now. He wants to drop him there.
Lie down. Weed him. Weed him. Lie down. Weed him. Weed him. Jeff, weed him. Lie down, Jeff.
Jeff comes in again to
Lie down.
start the shedding.
Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
I want to
Lie down.
separate them into two packets of 4 again, and
Lie down.
he's done it this time. He's through better this time. He's through better than he was this
Lie down.
before. He's just turned them round, but that
Lie down.
reflects
Lie down.
the shedding. Only 4 scored,
down,
4
down.
out of a possible
Lie
10.
down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Down.
Drive those. You see, the sheep are not settled. They don't like being chased around and looking for escapes all the time.
Come boy. Come boy. Come boy.
Still running.
And weed him. 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 Lie down. Lie down. Come boy. Lie down. Jeff, lie down. Weed him. Weed him. Weed him.
Still got that urgency about the
Lie
job.
down.
In
Lie down.
fact,
Lie down.
just dashing about a bit too much. He's got to put these 4 sheep. He's got to put these 4 sheep into the pen. The pen that hasn't a gate on it. It's not as easy as it sounds. And
Lie down.
I
Lie down.
think it's easily to be wise after you see what happens. But I think I would have used Ben,
Lie down.
given Jeff a
Lie
rest.
down. Lie down. Lie down. Come boy. Lie down. Lie down. Come boy. Jeff. Weed him. Weed him.
Oh, everything's going
Lie
wrong.
down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Weed him. Weed him. Weed him. Lie down. Weed him.
John
Lie down,
takes
lie
one
down.
side of the pen.
Lie
the
down.
Dog takes the other.
Lie
But
down.
now then, have we got them?
Lie
Emptying the heat from his lungs.
Lie down.
Yes,
Lie
he's got
down.
them
Yeah,
now.
that'll do, Jeff. That'll do, Jeff. Weed him.
He's going round
Weed
and
him. Wait a minute, Jeff.
be
Wait a minute.
careful. He's going to turn those sheep out if we're not
Yeah.
careful.
Lie down. Lie down, Jeff.
Jeff certainly doesn't want to play
Lie
the
down.
sentry
Lie
game.
down. Lie down, Jeff.
Yes,
Lie down,
lie
Jeff.
down, Jeff. Settle
Lie down,
down,
Jeff.
now. You're in charge. Keep the gap there. 6 out
Lie down.
of
Lie down, Ben.
10 for the
Ben, lie down.
Ben. Lost 4 on the Ben. And Ben going away for the second packet of sheep. The gated pen, the easier pen of the 2.
Lie down. Ben, lie down.
Bringing them up
Lie down,
rather
Ben.
fast.
Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
Just lie down. He's back.
Lie down. Lie
John's
down.
being very sensible
Lie
there,
down.
telling him to ease up.
Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down. Lie down.
Got them in a good position.
Lie down.
Man on one side, dog on
Lie
the
down.
other. Sheep have no alternative but to go into the pen.
Lie down.
And that was a good pen. That's 10 out of 10 for Ben's final pen. A good pen. 105 scored out of a possible 150. But it just wasn't good. The dogs put far too much pressure on the sheep. And Ben and Jeff think that they may be good pals at home, but they obviously haven't worked together much in competition.
Hello, Ben.
I'm afraid the trial was
Ben.
against all John's
Ben.
hopes and against all his expectations from them.
And there's a grey old cluster of cloud leering over those far hills, but we'll keep our fingers crossed that the downpour holds off. So, with a score of 105 to beat, it's the Welshman Gwilliam Jones with Roy and Floss who come to the start to compete for a place in the final.
Stand, stand, stand.
Well, on paper, Phil, Gwilliam shouldn't have any difficulty in beating John. We expect such a lot from him. He's one of the most experienced and he's one of the most successful brace handlers in the world. There's Roy, big strapping dog. Floss on the far side, going to take the left-hand side. But they're not all that experienced, aren't these 2 dogs? And this is Gwilliam's problem, just the 2 dogs. Roy away on the right. Floss taking the left-hand side. There's Roy running up the hill. Big strapping animal, smooth-coated, 3-coloured dog, tricoloured dog. Floss has come round, Outrun 17 for Roy, 20 for Floss. Roy moves over, the dogs have crossed at the top of the field, and that's the only place that they're allowed to cross. They must now keep up those same sides. Cross again, it's a fault, and the lift score, quite a good gentle lift. Roy gets 10 full points, Floss gets 8.
Steady.
Just settling himself down to keep his eye on the dogs, and they're coming good down the hillside, working together. Going on. Everything moving, both dogs going nicely there. This is brace handling. Good brace handling, both dogs should be in action. Not stopping and starting, they're just moving badly offline there. We don't want one dog to go and then the other. We've got them, everything flowing together. That gets you good points. And that wins brace trials.
Steady.
Turn round the back of Gwilliam to start the drive away. 17 scoring out of 20 on the fetch. Higher sound start.
Steady, Roy.
Steady, Roy. Let's ease the pace a little. There's Roy. Be careful. Oh, just looking back at Gwilliam there was Roy. A Floss come, turn right round. There's Roy. Does it again. He's looking around. They don't like that. The dog's almost looking pleading. What do I do next, sort of thing. And the dog should have the intelligence to know what to do next. And he certainly shouldn't take his eyes off the sheep.
Roy.
Into action. Roy's looking back again. He's the doubtful one in the partnership. Now they're going together again now on the cross drive. Gwilliam, of course, enough experience not to get flustered. Floss comes swinging round, turns the sheep, bring them up the hill into the shedding ring. Shedding ring, complete the driving work. And they've scored 29 points. 29 out of 40, lost 11, quite a lot to lose. Gwilliam moves across, he's taking his crook up, it's virtually an extension of his arm. He's not allowed to touch the sheet with it, but of course he can shake them around like that. Floss has been chosen to take the shedding stint, and she's very positive in her actions, just ready to take the command to come through, split those 8 sheep into 2 packages of 4. I see she moves around there to head them off. There's a possible chance there, yes. He just quietly draws Floss through the gap with his crook. And she turns them away. And it's full points. It's 10 out of 10 for the shed.
Stand.
I'll do right. I'll do right.
Stay there.
Roy's brought up to do the
Stand there.
guarding of the first 4. And
Stay there.
yes, still there, just showing a bit of rebellion.
Yeah. Stand there.
Still
Roy.
moving. He isn't happy, isn't Roy?
Stay there.
Gwilliam will put him in his place. And he's taking Floss to pen the 4 sheep in the first pen, the pen that hasn't the gate, and this is the usual practice. Use the best dog first, get it over with as it were,